Hello and welcome to OnyxPathCon 2021. This is our running virtual games panel. I am joined by various luminaries of our online gaming community, our streaming community, as it were. In case you're unaware, my name is Travis Legge. I am the programming coordinator for our Twitch channel, line developer for Scarlands. I do a little bit of dabbling in mage development and write for everything that they will give me, a chance to write for. So I'm going to go ahead and have everyone introduce themselves, and then we're going to talk about running games online. It's going to be a fun discussion. If you have a question for the assembled, please type it in the chat with the word question in all caps in front of it so that we're sure to see it. Hit us up with whatever. I can't promise you that we'll be able to answer every question, but we'll do our level best.
According to terms of service.
Right. If you want Scarred Land spoilers, you'll have to wait until the panel tomorrow. That's the 5e OGL panel. Come to that one. Because I promise I'm not going to spoil much here. All right. So let's start arbitrarily with we're going to do a popcorn initiative. So I'm going to have one person introduce themselves, and then they will tell the next person to introduce themselves. So I will start, and I will have Kelly introduce yourself. Kelly, please
tell the
folks who you are.
Sounds good. Hey everybody, I'm Kelly Clark. I'm a writer and performer. I'm the host over at twitch.tv/dorktales. Same with YouTube and on podcast as well. I'm really excited to be here this weekend. And if you haven't checked out any of the live play games, Dork Tales is going to be the World of Darkness and Exalted channel for the weekend. And there's so many good things going over there. I'm going to be hanging out over at Occultists Anonymous tomorrow. So you should come see me then as well. And definitely...
Yeah, actually, high five, we swap spots there.
Oh, fair enough. Yeah, hope you were enjoying. I like Febrezed the channel before you went over, got the gamer smell out of it. Now it smells like gamer again. I don't know why. So happy to be here. I'm going to pass it over to Drew because we're just talking to each other.
Sure, yeah. Hi, guys. I'm Drew Kuehndorf. I run twitch.tv/Occultist Anonymous, where basically we play mage and then occasionally... I do video games. For the most part, you're coming for mage on Fridays. We're currently doing a 1846 Wild West. The mages have absolutely no idea what they're doing campaign, which is great because the players do, and so they're making terrible decisions. It's about as disastrous as you might expect. I've been doing this for 2 years plus, God help me. And before that, virtual tabletop stuff I've been doing for 6 years. But yeah, let's pass it over to
That's it.
that moment.
Million-mile stare that you get when you're going for this.
I just thought about all the dice I have that are literally gathering dust right now because I haven't pulled them out for. No, I pulled them out for Technocracy Reloaded.
Anyway.
Yeah. So toss it over to Ian.
All right. Well, I'll let Drew recover from the PTSD. I'm Ian E. Muller. I am co-founder and VP of strategy for Gehenna Gaming. We do horror TTRPG games. We run Virtual HorrorCon. We helped run OnyxPathCon last year. And then a little too busy, sadly, to help out this year, but really excited for everything going on. I have been streaming tabletop games for 3 years now, I think, ish. Obviously, and then playing them since the 90s. So I guess I have some knowledge to pass on to people. But I'll hand it over to Tyler.
I am Tyler, and I play and run on Vorpal Tales channel, and we play way too many times a week on our channel, on the Onyx channel, on the Free League Gaming channel. And I'm also a freelance writer for Onyx Path, and I have been, much like Ian, gaming since the 90s and live playing for about 1.5 years on Twitch.
Sweet. And before we get too far into it, I do just want to take a moment and encourage the audience to please follow everyone's respective channels. Pour heaps and heaps and heaps of appreciation and adoration onto Kelly, Drew, and Tyler, without the efforts of whom this year could not have happened. And as well as onto Ian, without the effort of whom last year, this year probably wouldn't have happened, because that was the precedent that set this year. So thank you for laying the groundwork for this glorious monument to OnyxPathCon that we have.
Ian walked so we could run.
Exactly. We're
Valid.
standing on your shoulders, Ian.
And now Ian is snapping, so it's fine.
So ostensibly, we're going to talk about running games online for a little while. It is a topic we have a little bit of experience about, but when you get us all together, who knows where the conversation might go. So I guess the first thing that I suppose we should talk about is there's two components to storytelling online, which I think speaking specifically in the streaming space, right? Which I think you have to keep in mind. Component A is that your audience is bigger, even if you're a very small streamer and it's like two of your friends tuning in to watch. That makes your audience bigger than it would be if you were just sitting around the table with your friends, right? So you have to keep that in mind. You have to be aware of it. And we can get into how much you let that actually dictate your actions as we discuss. But I think that's kind of one half of the conversation to be had. The other half of the conversation to be had is the technical stuff, which, without getting too much into like the nitty gritty stuff that will be invalidated by Moore's law by the time this hits YouTube, we can talk I think in some general terms about like things you want to look out for. Sound is probably going to behave the same no matter what happens with technology, for example. So some things like that we can discuss. And of course, any questions that you might have whatsoever, feel free to drop in the chat. I do see one that leapt out at me right away in the chat. So good as any place to start. The question is, what has been the biggest challenge you faced during the COVID-19 pandemic regarding tabletop role-playing and streaming? Who would like to start with that question?
I'd love to, actually, if you wouldn't mind.
Yeah.
So the day before we went into lockdown in British Columbia, where Dork Tales is placed, I blew 8 months of Patreon money on a brand new audio setup. 6 brand new mics, one of which is right here, a brand new interface, brand new everything. And then the next day we went into lockdown, like overnight, and we're not allowed to game in person. We had to switch everything overnight to an online play. I had to contact one of my players who's a graphic designer to build like frames and layouts, and I had to figure out how to do like multi-mic input and make sure everybody's levels were good and make sure that like, do we use a virtual tabletop, do we not, etc. We had a week. I think we took 1 week off to figure this out, but I don't even think we did there because we're kind of nuts and we just kind of like do 40. Well, I think all of us are nuts, to be honest, with like the 48 hour style turnarounds for things. But it was just it was a slap in the face, and it honestly has been fantastic for the channel. The additional FaceTime that people get with the type of performance you get for this talking head style play really is a lot more engaging than the old around the table shots that we used to use, and it's been phenomenal for us. We get a lot of complaints on our YouTube because we use actual dice, and some of our players are super lucky because I figure if we bought the dice, we might as well use the damn things. But honestly, it's been overall very positive for Dork Tales after the initial huge pain in the ass.
Yeah, that's valid.
Go ahead.
I'll pick up from there.
Please.
Everyone's cool with that. It's kind of twofold for me because for Gehenna Gaming, we actually lucked out a lot. We were already doing a lot of digital plays with people. I think I'll touch on challenges in a second, but the COVID didn't impact that side of it that much. We did have to completely 180 an entire business plan for 2020 that we had for our in-person conventions, which was interesting. Yep. But I think the biggest challenge that COVID hit for that was actually amount of interest in playing games. Like, we've had to turn away a lot of people simply because we've had so many people reach out to interested in playing, and it's like, well, we can't fit you all in games, and we're sorry about that. beyond that, obviously, when you are doing everything remotely and you're working with a wide variety of players as opposed to like the same core group or same couple core groups, camera quality, audio quality, managing that has been tricky. But overall, it hasn't been that bad. The flip side of that, as a cast member on a different channel, we actually continued playing in person, which was interesting. So mostly getting a COVID test every week was the biggest challenge, because we wanted to make sure it was safe to be around each other. So that was interesting. And that was more towards the end. I'm going to say end of pandemic, even though it's not over yet. But more towards like when the vaccine was starting to roll out. And now that our entire cast for that series, ATL by Night, is vaccinated. So we're doing pretty well there. But 2 challenges for both of those things.
Sweet. Drew?
For us, we changed absolutely nothing. It was actually, because we, like I said, we've been digital, pre COVID. So the only thing that we actually changed is we had more time at our computers, and we were able to do a little bit more stuff, and I was a much better community manager. And this week has quickly reminded me of, oh right, it's really hard to do Discord while I'm at an office and my boss is right there and I'm having to do it on the phone. But after the game stuff, man, we didn't have to change a thing. It did kind of kick into gear the like, oh hey, we can go get anybody we want. We don't need to know them. Because that's what we literally did for this newest Chronicle. Is like we had an open share and we basically said, yo, who wants to be in this? And I just chatted with people, which is like, there's a little part of it that's from the business side, but even if I wasn't doing the stream thing, like I met a lot of interesting people. Some very interesting and some interesting. But it was very cool. And that whole like reminder of, oh yeah, I could do this anytime. And virtual gaming, don't limit it to your local friend group or the guys that you knew in college. Go look for some folks. Go check your local community Discord, because I guarantee, I think Gehenna Gaming has one. I know I have one. There's a bunch of us Discords that's got a looking for group chat. Go actually use it. Anyways,
Absolutely.
Tyler, any big changes over at Vorpal Tales from the pandemic yet?
A lot of what I would say would mirror what Ian said, but I would add learning how to screen people when you're pulling in a huge amount of interest, and they're all digital people you don't know. We had trial by fire how to run an interview process for virtual gaming. So it's very different than any other kind of how do you get.
I just saw a question come in about that, actually, if we want to jump straight to that one.
Yeah, by all means.
Go.
What was the
yeah.
What was it? You mostly game with friends. What are your thoughts about players that you find online?
Yep.
Is that the question?
Yeah, that
one. Looks like I had a problem with a player that kind of went mask off halfway through a campaign. Didn't feel comfortable asking them to leave, but made me kind of uncomfortable. So I think it looks to me like it's kind of two issues in one, right? One is the nature of the pandemic opening tables to people that maybe they wouldn't normally have been open to, or at least giving people drive, motivation, and opportunity to fill those seats, right? But then you really are getting into just kind of normal table etiquette, and I think sometimes it's a bit of a balancing act, right? Because we're all doing this theoretically on some level of profession, whether it be we are, our main income is merch and a Discord or merch and a Patreon, and there's like 4 people that are actually supporting it, or if it's supported by a publishing company and everything in between and beyond those edges, right? But at the end of the day, a lot of those, I would say, interpersonal issues don't change. It's no different than if it's at your home table. You're going to have to deal with somebody every once in a while. Doesn't work out well. I can say for our part, we have been the Onyx Path groups, as far as I'm aware, and the ones that I've been directly involved in, have been extremely lucky in that the people that have made their way to the table have generally been, people that get along well. There's not a lot of personality conflicts. I think a lot of the people that stream through Onyx Path are relatively, one might say, vocal about our opinions about certain things. I sign off literally every time I'm on Twitch with get a vaccine or wash your hands or wear a mask or some combination of those things. So I would be very surprised if someone, for example, were to show up for one of my streams and be shocked by my opinion on vaccination. I would also direct them to then go read Technocracy Reloaded. I think it's the intro to Chapter 7. I have another very opinionated piece of fiction about vaccination.
Man, if the progenitors hadn't messed up last year, we would have been in a much different place.
That was entirely a Verbena issue.
Oh, sure. That's how it was spun.
Well then.
But yeah, I mean, ultimately, I would say you deal with those issues when they arise the same way that you would deal with any other player conflict. You pull a player aside, you say, hey, this is what's up. Can we resolve this? If there's not a resolution, you thank them for their time and you send them out the way. And if it is something where you have like a streaming story where you have to fill that out, again, handle that the way you would handle most of your in-game sessions. I'm certain none of us that are on this panel are immune to the idea that, well, this person left my personal table and was kind of a jerk on the way out the door. So their character, unfortunately, gets run over by a manure cart at the start of the next session, and then we move on with their lives. You probably want to be a little more delicate than that because they're public, they're people watching.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just you and your friends having a laugh. It's, that affects people. But above and beyond that, I would say handle it the same way. Does it sound about fair and right? Anybody have anything to expand upon or add to?
Consent checklists are really good.
That's about
one of those. Yeah. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off with that.
No.
Every time I've guest starred on someone else's stream, for the most part, they've had one of those, or it's been like just a conversation that's been had more casually. And it's really crucial to have that type of understanding. Personally, I am really nervous about having people that I don't know at least well enough that I get a good vibe off of them. Guest star on the channel when it's streaming live, because you never know when someone's going to do something ridiculous that could violate Twitch's terms of service, could get you in big trouble, or suddenly could have a very toxic opinion that you don't want on your channel, or when you're talking with somebody who seems really cool and they're like, hey, so I'm thinking of playing a character who has some questionable ideas and red hats and things like that. And you're like, maybe not. Not on my channel. Go find a channel that works for that. So I'm really, I do a lot of vetting when I have guests on. And generally, like working with folks like you, where I can see that you put out quality content, I get a sense of your vibe. I can watch your videos to know what type of people you are, at least in game. So I do a lot of research because I'm very nervous about that personally. But for people who are not streaming it live and who are just playing virtually, consent checklists are probably the way to go, and just talking to them, get a vibe check first. Yeah.
Just to piggyback off that, consent checklists are huge. Monty Cook has a really good one. We have a modified one that we put out specifically for horror games. Gehenna Gaming got our start and intends to go back to running games at conventions. And that's a tricky space to navigate because you won't know everyone sitting down at the table. So we use a couple different things to gauge people. Like when I send them the consent form, if they balk at filling it out, that's a red flag right there. I'm like, okay, cool. Then you don't get to play with us. That's fine. I do a ton of vetting personally for the games that I run. Like Kelly said, I don't really work with people who don't already stream content, but I have. I stream with a lot of friends now, but they weren't when we started. So I will always basically get them on a video call with me. Get them on a call, see how they act, maybe have some other people on there, get a vibe check from them as well, but just chat with them for a little while because that's really important. And then I think the only other piece of advice I would give is don't be afraid to kick someone out, like in middle of a stream. It's gonna suck, but like go to break and kick them out.
Yeah,
Especially if they're starting to violate Twitch terms of service.
Yeah.
Right. If something goes really sideways, yeah, you pause the stream, throw your back soon screen up, and address the issue. Hopefully, you can avoid that. But I mean, I'm sure it happens. And sometimes that means you end the episode, and then you move and you say, "We'll be back next week." Sorry, and you move along. The other thing, just to piggyback kind of off what you were saying, Ian, with the consent forms and just in general, I mean, just use safety tools at your table. It's not a big ask. Come on. It's real simple. Whether that be a written consent form or whether that be a conversation, whatever it is, especially if you're planning on having people that you don't have a personal, you should be using it every time. You should be. But especially if you're bringing in people that you've never met or worked with before, it's imperative. You have to have those conversations just for your own peace of mind, for your audience's peace of mind, and for the peace of mind of the other players at the table. But the other thing I was going to say was, this is going to sound more manipulative than I mean it to. You should have a series of, when you go looking for new people to bring to the table, you should have a series of things that new person should have to do to get there. Whether that be message me on Discord, email me, whatever means of contact you set out. You're very basic. This is the bar of entry. This is how you tell me you want to be in the game. And immediately, anyone who can't follow those directions, don't go any further with them, and obviously there's an exception here or there if you're recruiting someone, so on and so forth. But if one of my favorite things is, and it happens every time, if I post something on Facebook and I say, shoot me a direct message if you're interested, and then people comment, I'm like, wow, you can't follow directions, can you?
Yep.
Like if they're literally hanging in front of your face, just can't do it. And is what it is, but it's no dig on them, but it's also a sign you probably don't want them, on your stream.
One thing I do want to throw in real quick, because there are some people who are asking stuff about just when they are playing remotely and they're not necessarily on the recruiting side. Two big things to remember: some kind of like emergency X card situation where it's okay to, I'm going to close out of this Zoom call. I'm going to disengage and make that okay. That's good for if you're streaming. It's good for if it's just you finding people to play with online. Make it very clear. Hey, if something is going too far, it is okay to just step away. Blame it on the internet if you really are feeling uncomfortable. But just go ahead and step away. Hop into chat and then talk about it. Somebody else, and I'm just going to kind of lump this in here because they're asking about, hey, how do you do session zeros? Do the session zeros with everybody. Do not let stuff sit over in side conversations where, oh yeah, so-and-so wants to play this kind of edgy character. That's fine. And then you find out, oh, that actually touches on something. Because if you didn't do that consent checklist, that's where you're going to run into that stuff.
Consent is everything. We do a session 0 offline, and then we also do one online because, and X card, no X card. If you have to go, go. Like, I don't care why. I don't know. I'm not you, and you know your own limits.
Right. And also, just a thing, because I don't think it gets brought up enough in the discussion of safety tools. Another thing to keep in mind is, as you're dealing with narrative, it is entirely possible that you will fill out you or your players, the consent forms will be filled out, the discussions about lines and veils or things that are off the table. However you frame that discussion will be firm. Everybody will understand it. Everybody will adhere to it, and then you will still accidentally step on someone's squick, whether that's because they didn't think to mention it, because you never thought it would be a problem, because it's nowhere near what was going on. There's a story I love to go back and tell. You can watch it happen on the OnyxPath YouTube channel. I inadvertently discovered a phobia of Dixie's during a stream. She didn't think to warn me about it. She didn't think it was going to come up. And it wasn't a particularly like horror-based scene. It was like a dude eating a sandwich. But I was making eating noises and she was like, oh, please stop. Don't ever do that again. And that's all it takes. You know what I mean? So I think taking a moment to point out to someone, it's cool if we bump into something, it's cool to pause everything and say, didn't know that was going to be this big of an issue, you know.
Yeah.
So let's not do it again, or let's take 5, or let's hold till next session. All those things are cool. And the people who matter at the table, the people who matter if they're watching the stream, they'll get it. They'll understand. They'll be cool about it, because at the end of the day, this is all supposed to be fun.
Exactly.
I know we dove right into questions. Was there any questions that we had missed so far?
I think actually we've kept up pretty close. Unless we want to talk a little bit more about session 0 stuff. But
I mean, they're super important. There's a whole bunch of panels about them. Check them out.
Watch it. Do a couple of them.
Yeah, there's tons of panels that talk about how to structure them, like what information to include, all those things.
We have like experts and people who are career consultants. You should really listen to the thing. My advice is listen to whatever Jack says about safety tools.
Agree.
So I did see a question in here. How do you decide your channel's style in the range from TTRPG via Zoom versus tactical play versus cosplay VLARP?
and
Evolution.
Don't label your channel. Just do your game. Don't try and fit somebody else's category of stuff. Like there are a bunch of channels out there who, I mean, heck, Dorktails just showed up to Hunter in my own damn channel. Like, oh, hey, by the way, we all dressed up. Really? I'm like, what? No, go away. We show up in jeans and t-shirts. If we're wearing
we have a
pants
casual Wednesday. We have casual Wednesday, but the rest of our games are costume because we're all cosplay nerds.
Right.
Yeah.
But there's that thing. Devil's Luck Gaming. Good luck matching up with them dressing up. You're not gonna do it.
Right.
We show up really casual and we buy art. My players, even before we were doing stuff, 2 of my players were like, hey, I commissioned somebody to draw my character. And then 6 months later, hey, we just went through that story thing. So I did it again. I'm like, okay, so this is. Go ahead.
It might sound like a cliche, but it doesn't matter what your style is if you're doing what you enjoy. If you're doing what you enjoy the way you enjoy it, people will feel that vibe and they'll watch you and they'll follow you. That's really it.
Yeah.
That's really true.
Do what you're comfortable doing. Like when we started off, we were jeans and t-shirts. We did some actual plays. We also did like horror video game stuff because we were just trying to fill time slots and hit affiliate. Since then, we have ramped up costuming just because we've had guests who came on and were like, oh, are we wearing costumes? And we're like, we can. Is everyone cool with that? Yeah. So like some of our streams we do, some of our streams we don't. I'm now on, like I mentioned, I'm a regular cast member on ATL by Night now. They do costumes. They go all out. So it's like now I'm getting used to it. I'm actually starting to do makeup and shit for streams.
Well, and it
evolves.
Well, and if I can piggyback on that a little bit too, and just to say, you probably don't have like an executive producer to answer to. So do what you want. Like
exactly.
Twitch has terms of service. You probably shouldn't break those. There's other platforms you can stream on if you don't like Twitch's terms of service, or if you just don't want to give Jeff Bezos money.
Or you just play TTRPGs in a hot tub if you really want to. You can. It's fine.
Yeah.
Can you do that on a Facebook stream? I think you can. So.
You can do it on Twitch.
You can certainly do it on PlexStorm.
Oh, they changed it. Right.
They did change it.
If you're not 18, do not go to PlexStorm. Don't Google it. Don't even look it up. There's a point I was making. Oh, and the point is this. Feel free. Sorry about your monitor, Ian. It
was my fault. It's fine.
The point is that you can also shift that around. You can shift that around game to game. You can shift that around session to session. I have a game right now that I'm running on my own channel on Plastic Age Plays, which I forgot to mention earlier, is where you can watch all OGL 5e content this weekend for the convention. That is not OnyxPath related at all. And like it looks like and seems like as we're moving our episodes along, everybody's like, oh, I'm gonna go get this costume piece. And I was talking to one of my players and she's like, oh, I ordered this vest that's gonna be so like sometimes costumes come together throughout the course of a stream. Things happen. Feel free to change it up. And if you don't like it, change it back. Like nobody in this business is making enough money to not be having fun doing what they're doing.
Yeah,
Um,
figure
it's
out.
a fluid art form.
Yeah.
I was going to ask Drew. So your players have commissioned art. Have they started commissioning any lewds of their characters yet? Because that was a fun one for me.
Not that I am aware of, but I have,
That's happened. Yeah.
Isn't it great? Like it's just you're just like, I hit a nerve, not where I thought I was going to hit, but hey.
Yes, one of the players in one of our games was like, "Hey, is it cool if I share like some art I had commissioned of my character?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure. What is it?" And they sent it to me, and I was just like,
probably don't put that on the.
I mean,
that on
I'm
the
not going
NSF
to
server,
retweet
please.
it, but you can post it as much as you want on your own Twitter.
Yeah, I mean, so yeah, the point being is, we're all ostensibly here to have fun. Feel free to switch it up. Do what makes you comfortable, and don't let don't let the pressures of, am I doing this right? Am I doing this wrong? Put you in a position where you're not comfortable or having fun.
Actually,
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. The pressure thing is, and this is for those of you who are thinking about streaming. We made a joke about it. We don't make enough money to do this we don't make money doing this. If you're here, we ain't making money doing this.
No. Any money goes right back into paying for equipment and stuff, and
right,
like
exactly.
websites, and it's just digging yourself out of the hole.
But the biggest thing to remember is you may run into Patreon supporters, people who are buying subs, gift subs, bits, and they're being a big financial boost to your channel. And when they complain and they say, "Hey, did you think about changing this?" or "What do you guys think about doing this?" and you don't like it, say, "Nah." And you may need to work on building that thick skin and being like okay with the money going away. It's your game, it's your players. Talk with everybody, and if anybody has any hesitation where they're like, I don't know about this, don't do it. You don't want to build up that precedent, and you don't want to find yourself in a weird relationship with some financial sugar daddy thing.
Yeah. You don't want to be owned, right?
Unless
you're not.
That's what
you're not sponsored by Pepsi. Like,
listen, unless you do. We don't yuck the yum.
Yes,
on
that's
the
true.
Onyx
If you
Path.
wanna,
Yes, Pepsi, please support us.
Different
you're
thing.
just a warlock, then you've got your arcane sugar daddy. So someone in the chat was asking about costume stuff. I just wanted to offer really quick tips about costuming for digital presentation. Wear shorts because you're going to get hot and no one's going to see it. Remember, you're only being seen from one angle. So if you're painting yourself, only paint the parts, like if you're playing an orc or something, don't paint the back of your neck. You'll stress out about it. Don't do it. Okay.
Yep.
On a recent episode, I played an Obi-Wan Kenobi character. I made Jedi robes out of 2 pairs of pants because you couldn't see my stomach. So you couldn't see that there was a crotch right here. Just fake it. Use magician's tricks. Go cheap. Yep. Dollar stores
100%.
are your friend.
Also, you're this big on the screen.
Mm-hmm.
I would also point out,
like the bust area.
If you are painting, layer it on because the camera won't pick it up if you make up like a normal.
Yes.
Like you're on a stage.
Take stage makeup.
Like
stage makeup tricks.
Yeah.
Because these video calls and all, they might be, the source might be HD video, and you're looking in like your webcam going, oh, you can see every blemish, every
Can on Twitch.
No, not really. So if you want intense detail, you have to do really, really deep lines. And I've seen so many streamers that have like really, really put in that, 200% effort on their makeup, and it just don't read. You know what I mean? So, and some of that you're going to learn as you go. You know what I mean? You just gotta, you don't know what you don't know till you find it out. Yeah.
Also, shoot at a downward angle, always, because everyone has a double chin from beneath.
Right.
If you're self-conscious about your appearance, always shoot down and grow a beard. They're helpful. I'm sorry.
If you can.
But you're innately beautiful, so it's fine.
Oh, thank you.
See, that Atlanta glow.
What Ian doesn't tell us all is that he's actually half elf. That's the problem.
Well, yeah, obviously.
Damn, I knew.
Well, if you can't grow a beard, store-bought is fine.
Store-bought is fine.
Also,
If you look, Second Gen Gamer in the chat paints one on every week for one of our D&D streams because her dwarf has a beard. It contours really nice, actually. It's good.
Yeah, no, harsh contouring for makeup, shooting at a downward angle I was going to get to. Sadly, I'm not right now because I'm not in my normal setup,
Yeah.
but I normally do.
This is a pain.
Wear comfortable pants, and I don't wear shoes usually when I'm usually in pajama pants and barefoot when I'm streaming. Like I focus on torso and up, and usually it's like chest and up, and that's all I really worry about, like what looks good.
Legitimately, whether you're streaming or not, and I'm not gonna do it, but I DM standing up. If you have a standing desk, use it. If you can put your laptop up on a shelf, if you're DMing, I highly suggest it. Is by far one of the best things I ever did when I moved into streaming. I was like, why am I not just doing this standing so I can get my steps in or whatever? And man, you're more active, you can move and occasionally walk away from your mic. So learn to be better about that. Whoops. It only took me like 60 episodes. I now have a mat that I stand on, and that is my cage, and I sit in that. But once you're standing and you're able to move because you don't feel like you're confined to a chair. Also, you feel less like slouchy because you're standing.
Yeah.
Right. And another quick tip, which also will help your tech person out if you're streaming on a call, but it's also good just for like con games, any sort of video gaming. You can get this nice little, there's a nice little camera cover that you can buy on like Amazon. I think you can get them on like Etsy and Wish and all sorts of fun places. Just a little thing that sticks to your computer over the front of your camera. You can slide it over the lens. If you don't have one of those, get a Post-it note. Have something that you can block your camera with physically, so you don't have to shut the camera off. Because depending on the setup of the tech person you're working with, you may cause them to go into maniacal rage if you shut your camera off.
Rearrange everybody on
on your Zoom call.
Speaking of tech, I'm guessing this is probably true for everyone here, but if you're just starting out, unless you have to, never be your own producer if you're the GM.
Yeah. Oh God, don't do it.
Wimps.
Well, yeah, exactly. Like that's what ADHD is for, man. Like I got my multitask on while I'm doing goblin voices.
Everybody on this screen is doing it, but if everybody on this screen was being honest with themselves, they would acknowledge it's a bad idea.
Yes.
I would much prefer.
I do it, but please don't.
Yeah. I will caveat that. I will say, make sure it's someone you really trust. Make sure it's someone who has good or better internet than you. Make sure it's someone who's not going to walk away from their computer in the middle of the game, things like that. But yeah, 100%. The other thing I would say is, if we're going to talk about tech real quick,
let's do it.
Don't stress yourself out about spending $1,000 on a setup. Make sure you have a good mic first, and then worry about everything else after. Like mic, then camera, then lighting, then other fancy tools. But like audio quality is going to be the first thing that kills you.
People are gonna joke and laugh, but go get your Yeti Snowball for $35 from Walmart. They're on sale all the time. Go pick it up, because I love headset mics. They're terrific for gaming and stuff like that because it's right there. But if you want audio quality, you want something that is sitting still right there. You can control the angle that it is pointed at, and you can fine tune stuff and or have somebody like Kelly who's like, hey, you're peaking again. You need to adjust your mic. And it's just right there, and I can just move it and adjust.
Yeah. And just if you're using a Snowball, though, it's an omnidirectional. You get that fucker right next to your mouth. Get it as close so you don't pick up room tone as possible. And room tone, if you don't know, is it's that general hum of your room. So if you don't know that, free film lesson for you. But you can buy mics like the Snowball super cheap. If you're in Canada, it's quite a bit more expensive. But one of my players managed to find a brand of I think it's like an off-brand Chinese microphone that's like kind of like a third-party thing, but they're basically half as good as my mic for like $60, whereas like a Yeti's $130 in Canada right now. Yeah, you do what you can. You clean it up a little bit later. Honestly, Zoom, if you're using that, it's going to throttle your sound a bit anyway. And here's the trick. Not everybody does this. Dork Tales uses music. That's also partially to cover up a tiny bit of audio discrepancies as well, because it does. You put a little background track on, nobody notices.
Yep.
And that brings me to just something I wanted to mention, because we were talking about this a little bit before we came on about incorporating additional media into your, which I think is a nice tech segue. We can talk about that a little bit. Again, if you have more questions, if there's something that we missed, pop it in the chat. Otherwise, we're just gonna run around. Just the ADD is piloting right now, obviously.
Yep.
But with music, I have anybody who's listened to me stream for 5 minutes knows I have a problem. I physically cannot talk and type at the same time. Can't do it. One of those things is going to stop. So I have to pick one and commit to it. Same thing happens with music. This is why I don't use music on my streams. If I hear music, when I play on Vorpal Tales, I have to just mute the browser that they have asked to open because I can't think. It shuts down. I can't form words. I'm grooving to the music, and all of a sudden, then I'm not doing my fabulous Sean Connery impression anymore, and the whole game falls apart. So make sure you're tailoring as you're trying some of these things. Like, maybe don't always try them in front of an audience. Make sure you don't want to find out that you have some quirk, or that something's not going to that something's going to be a game breaker for you while you're in the middle of a stream.
Yeah, absolutely. And another thing about music is, if you're using music on a stream, make sure that you're actually using Creative Commons or open source music, or like music where you have the license to do it, and always credit. On Twitch, it's a little more flexible, but if like on Dork Tales, we always make sure that every single track, even if we own the license for it, because we did buy a big suite of them a while ago, we make sure it's credited because the artist still deserves that. They're still, you can't eat with exposure, but it's a nice spice.
Yeah.
Pay your artists.
Yep. If you can't pay for it, there are free resources. Like, I will say, honestly, most of the music that Gehenna Gaming uses is from the YouTube music library.
Yeah. 90% of ours comes from the creepypasta community, people who want to share it. Yeah.
Overclocked remix. Go get you all sorts of video game remixes, and we're not just talking like EDM bit stuff. Like, if anybody's joined our Into the West, I have a bunch of Western sounding stuff that has come from a bunch of different video games, and it's there and it's free and it's Creative Commons. So
I'm gonna hit you up about that later, because I'm running Deadlands in a couple of months and I need more cowboy music.
I got 3 songs, man, but I'll show you some of the other ones.
Sounds good.
Music is a good value add. Anything that you can do. We're pretty fortunate. Most of the streams that I play in, somebody on that stream is an artist, and generally pretty talented. Like, I was blown away by the tokens. We just started that Witcher stream over on.
She got those done so quick.
Yeah, Milena Deneno. If you ever get the chance, hire Milena Deneno to do art for you. But she did the cover art for Frostlands of Fenric. She did a bunch of the interior art, her and Mike Newton. And yeah, it does just get someone to do some tokens up for you. Little things like that add a little bit of spice, a little bit of flavor to the game.
Full color art is expensive. So if you are getting full color character art done for any of your streams, expect to pay anywhere between $100 and $300 for a fully digitally colored masterpiece. Remember that this person is getting paid hourly to make this work for you, and they're a professional. They should be making $30 to $60 an hour or so minimum, depending on how good they are. Because you would expect to be getting paid as much if you were doing it. It's painful, but it's what you get.
It's what they deserve. Yeah.
Exactly.
To chime in on that, I'm not saying go look for free stuff, but find an artist who actually cares about your thing. When we first got character art for Cultists Anonymous, The Rookery, we got somebody and they did D&D characters, and they're like, yep, here's the stuff. They took direction and edited and made some cool changes, and we're like, cool, thanks. And then poof, they were gone. We were like, oh, okay, bye, thanks. Then we met Brenna, who was posting fan art from her own game, and we're like, we really like Brenna. Do we like Brenna? Yes. Hey, Brenna, do you like money? And so Brenna makes stuff for us, and now bear in mind, like I said, I'm not expecting free stuff. We have never gotten free stuff.
Hey, your friends.
But now we're buddies. She's been on our Cyberpunk thing, and now we literally reach out. And so for Into the West, I was like, hey, we need stuff. And she was like, cool, I'll clear my schedule.
Nice.
Yeah.
I would piggyback on that and say, network. Go on Twitter, join the community. It's really easy to get like 500 artists real fast in our community, and go to them before you go to Fiverr.
Right, and if you have a player in your game that is that's an artist, let them shine. You know what I mean? Let them do their business.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And pay them.
Yeah,
and pay them more than they ask for.
And then
if they're a friend.
And then tell everybody when you go on a panel to talk about your stream, tell everybody to hire them. It's Milena Donano. It's at Milena Donano on Twitter, and she's on Twitch too.
At Cloudbound Corgi.
Hey Liz,
we'll do this.
Listing all the artists we know.
If you do not have any money for art, you do have a couple of other options as well, though. Real quick, here's a secret that we use. This person does not exist if you want a real person. But it's a computer generated image created from millions of photos. The person is not a real person, and there is no copyright on that. You can use it and be like, this is what they look like. Yeah, it kind of looks like, Allison Hannigan and Kirsten Dunst merged together, but it's not. Or maybe it is. I don't know. There is an art version of this called Art Breeder that we use for some of the streams where we're doing a one shot and we want some art. Art Breeder does the same thing with images. You can upload a picture of Keanu Reeves, put it through a few filters, and hey, it's now the great value Keanu Reeves, dollar store Keanu Reeves, and that is illegal.
Yep.
I like that question that just rolled past the most contentious of questions. Virtual dice or physical?
I will always use physical. Don't make me use virtual. I hate using virtual dice.
Do you ever get complaints from people who are like, for example, I have some pretty lucky players in my games. I get a bunch of YouTube comments that are like, hey man, you need a dice cam. Someone actually said at one point, my stats professor would be rolling in their grave with these rolls.
Your stats professor would be rolling in the grave that you're talking about dice rolls.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. Theory does not match reality for one guy. But
my
comment was like, if I put a dice cam on, then I'm saying that I don't trust my players.
Yeah,
that's
right.
the end. And it also means that I'm bowing to pressure from outside for that, and also I'm blowing what $60 to $100 on a dice cam that's going to take up screen space.
Yep.
But if we use digital dice, like we've had dice sponsorships on the channel before. We can't roll digital dice if we have dice sponsorship.
Unless it's a digital dice sponsor, I suppose.
Yes, okay, fair.
Here's the other thing, though. Here's another way to look at that same question, right? And to apply it broadly to we're going to stream our game sort of checklist, right? Everything you introduce to your stream that is not fundamentally necessary for your story to be told becomes noise. It gets in the way of your players enjoying the story, your audience immersing themselves in the story, and you telling the story. You know what I mean? And that's not to say that digital dice don't sometimes cause that problem. I use Astral Tabletop for a lot of my streams, have used it since it was in its earliest of alpha stages. Especially before the last several couple updates, spent a whole lot of time on stream waiting for digital dice to finish rolling. Because they were building a dice roller. So, and that generated noise. It generated communication noise, not like loud, but like, the thing that more free film school for you. Communication noise is anything that gets between what you want the audience to hear and what they actually experience. So any way you can get rid of that.
It's also another thing you have to worry, you or your producer, if you aren't the one producing, has to worry about. They have to make sure that that frame doesn't freeze, that they don't have an issue with their browser, that a whole bunch of other things. Like, it adds more complications to the end product that you're pushing out. Because at the end of the day, a stream is a product that people are consuming.
And it's more brain space for you to keep too, because if you're trying to perform and you're like, okay, the prince is going to show up in his opening line, I've got it prepped, I've been practicing it in the car outside the grocery store. Hello, Minnie. That for weeks. And then you flub it because you're worried about the audio. Or you're worried about the dice roller is flickering for some fucking reason. No, you're gonna blow the line, and then you've been waiting for that entrance for 6 months because he's been dead and he's come back from the grave, and it's a big thing, and he shows up and is basically just he trips over the sofa, right? You're like, oh shit.
I would also say that thing about the dice, where what happens if your players are too lucky. finger quotes. I think virtually or at a tabletop, if you're a good GM, it doesn't matter. Dice are supposed to inject a little bit of chaos, but your story doesn't need to hinge on the dice. You can still challenge that lucky player without dice.
Yep. I will be the dissenting opinion here and just really quickly mention I love my digital dice. The players also kind of hate them because they're very clearly wacky and wild but we have a lucky player and we have an unlucky player and they're using the same digital dice.
What do you use?
Roll20. Sponsored by Roll20. We like it because everybody sees it. We do like remove all the little 3D extra dice. So literally all we have is this little strip and it's just all the most recent dice rolls solely because there's something very satisfying about, okay, and I'm going to roll this. And they click the button and everybody has a spot to actually watch the results. But it is literally, and the only reason I'm bringing this up is because the dissenting opinion, because that's what we want. And we're already using Roll20 because that's where our character sheets are. That's where everything else. So for me, I literally have a spot where I'm like, capture this section of my browser and it's done. Right. But that's because that's what I want. So I bring this up as the dissenting opinion because all these are perfectly valid opinions. I like my digital dice.
Use what you prefer.
Right.
And there's a place for all of it. Like Travis, I'm over on your Witcher stream and we're using Astral for everything. I've been incredibly lucky on Astral. I normally hate digital dice rollers because I find they roll like crap compared to real dice. I mean, that's probably just my imagination. But on Astral, I rolled like tons of crits. I was loving it. Right? It was ridiculous, but they were legit. You saw but like
sponsored by Astral.
Sponsored by Astral. Or I mean, hell, when I'm running I think it's less important as the GM. Either way works for me, particularly when I'm running like a 5e game or something. I use a digital dice. I use the Google digital dice roller.
Click the button.
Shit, I gotta run like 20 d10 damage because someone fell into lava. I'm not gonna roll 20 d10 or roll a d10. I guess I can multiply it by 20. But I just click whatever the hell I can to get it over with. I want to move on with the story, get to the fun stuff where we get to talk and make funny voices.
The story is what matters.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. And use what's comfortable for you. Your audience, the audience who matter, will either cope with it or they'll, kind of continually make noise about it and chat a little bit that you can then ignore. And that's and I guess that comes kind of down to the core of it too, is you have to, there's a certain amount of like, I'm going to point to Matt Mercer because he's a very easy example of this. There's a certain amount of you need to be able to draw lines with your community and just be like, we're running our game. And, and Matt Mercer has been good at that when he's finally gotten around to doing it. If I was in his shoes, I would be having those conversations with my audience much sooner than he often does. But nonetheless, though, you have to, that's a good trait to try to pick up, the ability to just say, look, this is the way we're running it. We're glad you're here watching it, but if it's bugging you that much, you really don't have to be here watching it.
Yeah, don't be afraid to lose an audience member because
it's going to happen whether you want to or not.
Right.
Yeah. And integrity is more attractive.
Right. And they'll probably be replaced by 3 audience members that might not make as much noise at all, but they're certainly not going to make as much negative noise.
Exactly.
Yep.
Yeah.
Why are these panels so short?
Yeah.
I know.
Can I ask a final question?
Yeah, please.
What and I'll answer this too. What is the number one piece of advice you wish you had gotten when you started out?
Oof.
Online or streaming?
In life. Wear comfy shoes.
No, streaming.
For me, I legitimately I wish I'd started sooner.
Yeah, I think that when I was starting to feel burned out at running real life games, and because it always felt very ephemeral, like you run a game and people talk about it for a few years afterwards and at the bar or something, but then it's gone forever. I really wish I would have started in like 2015, because then I have a record of all of the stories that I've fallen in love with and told now, and that's why I keep going. And yeah, start sooner, you lazy shit. Like that's what I would say to myself.
Yeah.
Start now, you.
I would
listening to
say
this.
it's not as scary as you think it's going to be. Don't wait because you're nervous. It's really not.
I mean, I've been doing this for 3 years. I'm nervous before every single episode because what are they going to do? But you know what? I was doing that when I was playing at the table
Right.
with just my buddies.
It's surprisingly not different.
I get not like nauseating, debilitating stage fright for about 5 minutes before I run a game, whether that game is on a stream, at a convention, at a table in front of people that I've known since we were, hanging out in Smoker's Corner in middle school. Doesn't matter I get stage fright. That type of stuff isn't going to go away. You're not going to get used to, you're just going to learn how to cope with it. Right.
Right.
But I would say if I had like a flux capacitor and could hit me up right before my first stream, I would say the only people you really got to worry about enjoying the game are the ones that are on your screen. If they're all having a good time, nothing else matters.
Which,
you're gonna mess up.
You mess up, you're gonna screw up rules. You're gonna spend time, looking through books, and you're gonna spend time learning shit, and just being conscientious that you have an audience is good. Don't get me wrong.
I'm so sad we don't get to talk about the rules thing, because that's even a bigger thing than dice.
That's a whole hour by itself.
Don't be
afraid to throw rules out.
166 episodes, and just literally yesterday, somebody was like, "Hey, this thing," and I went, "Oh my God, I've been doing this wrong the entire time. Oh my God, the end of my last chronicle would have been so much different if I had realized the rules."
But you didn't, and it ended perfectly because it ended the way that it was supposed to.
Yep.
It's way more fun to watch an ST make up a rule than spend 2 minutes looking in a book.
Right.
Yep.
It is.
Right.
I learned, I think live on stream like 3 weeks ago, how telepathy actually works in 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons. I've been running it wrong for 5 years. And not only was I like, that's dumb and I'm not going to run it that way in my games. But I got legitimately angry, like at Jeremy Crawford. I was like, why would you make it work that way? That is upsetting to me.
Called out Crawford.
I'm sure he's used to that.
Nice. Mine would just be, don't be afraid to slow down if you need a break. Don't keep pushing yourself harder and harder just because like you're growing or because people are having fun. Like if you need a break, take a goddamn break.
Yeah.
Mental health.
Yep.
You're no good to anybody if you're no good for yourself.
Yeah.
All right, rock and roll. Well, hopefully we got to everybody's questions.
Everyone that's in there.
Hopefully everyone that is present on this panel has enjoyed themselves. I know we're running a few minutes late, but hey, we get
We're
to
the
do
DMs.
That. We're the text. This isn't going anywhere without the rest of us. So, we have all the power.
Look, all of my players in the chat are saying that the DM should self-care. I wonder why.
Well, they're not
I don't know
wrong.
what you're talking about.
So before we run off, just one last reminder, tomorrow is the last day of the convention. There's still, I do believe, are opportunities to join paid games. The paid games help support the Bodhana Group. The Bodhana Group is an amazing charity who you should not only support by playing games at this convention, but also just support. Go throw them money. I promise they'll take it no matter where you give it from. So please send it to them. They need it because they're doing wonderful work in the intersection between mental health and tabletop gaming. Don't know if you've noticed, lots of people in tabletop gaming could use some help in the mental health department because people could use some help in the mental health department. We just survived an apocalypse. Maybe we should take a little bit of better care of ourselves. And one way you can do that is throwing some money towards Bodhana Group, preferably with a game, but not necessarily. Also, I wanted to give everybody a chance, and I want to take one last opportunity to thank everyone again for making this weekend work, because it wouldn't have worked without the faces on this screen. And everyone, please go ahead and share with our audience who you are, what you do, what your pronouns are, and where they can find you. And let's start it with Tyler, and then Tyler, you can popcorn it to the next person.
I'm Tyler, Eldritch Echoes Online. He, him. We have tons of shows on our channel. I don't know, like 11 times a week now. Because we're crazy. And tomorrow you can catch me playing They Came From Classified. It's going to be awesome. And then I'm going to be running Rich Bastard's Guide to Magic. Pretty sure both of those are the first time you're going to see them live online. So come check it out and follow everyone in this here. All these faces. Go to their channels and follow them.
Who's next?
Popcorn.
I'm going to give it to Ian.
All right. I am Ian E. Muller. You can find me, my pronouns are he, him. You can find me online as @Ravnos on Twitter, like the Vampire Clan. No idea where that came from.
Snagging that one.
Yeah, early adopter of Twitter.
Yeah.
It's also my handle on almost everything. So, you can find me over on the Gehenna Gaming Discord. You can also find me over on Gehenna Gaming, GehennaGaming.com, @Gehenna Gaming on Twitter, twitch.tv/Gehenna Gaming. Usually run games, or I'm doing production behind the scenes because we finally started using a producer who wasn't the GM once in a while, but it's usually me. And I have some other cool stuff coming up. You can also find me over on ATL by Night every Tuesday, where I play the Gangrel Jackson on their ongoing V5 series. That's all I can think of right. Oh, and we're doing Pride charity streams every Saturday this month. Going on right now, actually, on our channel. We have one next Saturday. We have a Juneteenth game that's going to happen, and the last game of the last Saturday is going to be another charity game. So you can go support those if you want to. And I'll pass it over to Drew.
Cool. Hi guys, Drew, he, him, Twitch and YouTube / everything, the Cultist Anonymous. Well, I guess Twitter is a Cultist A because Anonymous was going to be too long. Whatever.
It is a Cultist A, which caused me no end of confusion when you first came to the channel. Thank you, Drew. Appreciate it.
Yep. OA was taken. There was some CW TV show. Yeah. But yes, hi, I run Mage Thing. Also, I forgot to mention, I'm officially a freelance OPP writer.
Oh, yeah, me too.
You
Yeah.
are.
On Redacted.
Right. I would love to tell you what Drew wrote on, but I can't. Rich Thomas will jump up from behind my chair and just stab me in the back of the head.
Yeah, I forgot to mention I am too.
So's Tyler. Spoiler,
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
freelancer.
Did I just call you out? My bad.
I can talk about what I'm writing on, though.
Tyler can talk about what he's writing on, too, a little bit.
A little bit.
Not
At least one
detail.
of them.
Yeah.
Lore of the
but
traditions.
Yes. Oh, very nice. At least, never mind. I'm going to get into technocracy versus traditions again. Yes, but yeah, you can find me basically every Friday night on twitch.tv/Cultist Anonymous. I'm not doing much with anybody else, and I've got a whole squad of folks, but I'm realizing more and more I should try and guest, and I should try and get people over, because I was just like, yeah, we're doing tech and we're getting to watch some of these games live. And tell you what, I've definitely found a couple people. I'm like, I need you to come play an evil, scary fairy and harass the crap out of my players. So this has been terrific. And I'm gonna throw one little blitz thing here. Don't look at chat while you're streaming. Leave that. Your players can do that. Go find some moderators as a DM, and if you're DMing and producing, you don't want to do it. Let them filter stuff to you. Yeah. The Twitch chat is trash. Love you guys. And I guess we bump it over to Kelly.
Hey guys, I'm Kelly. You see in him. I am the primary ST over at twitch.tv/dorktales and youtube.com/dorktales for our archives. We stream about 5 to 7 nights a week, depending on how crazy my schedule is that week. And it's a wide mix of stuff from OnyxPath, from more independent systems like Powered by the Apocalypse, a lot of D&D right now, because hey, power fantasies during an apocalypse are pretty handy. And I'm really excited to say that next month on the 24th, we have a fully costumed Mage the Victorian era game beginning on the 24th of July. It's going to be fantastic.
Hell yeah.
And I hope you all join us for that. I've been running Mage for like 20 years now, and doing it on stream is it's been this shard of ice in my heart where I've been really nervous. So we'll see whether or not that yields some fruit, I guess. But I'm really excited to be doing that, and I'm happy to be here with all of you, and had a great time. And since I got to pass it back to you anyway, thanks for having me, and I guess everybody else here, Travis. Like, it was fantastic.
Thank you all for being a part of this. For real, couldn't have done it. Literally, could not have done it without you. And I guess that leaves me. I'm Travis Legge, he, him. When I'm not running games here, I run them over on my channel, twitch.tv/Plastic Plays, which is also our home for OGL 5e for the weekend. What do I have coming up? So I will be back here on the channel tomorrow on a bunch of panels. Please come check those out. We'll be talking about 5e. We'll be talking about Scarred Lands, where I'm the line developer. We'll be talking about community content. That's a whole other thing that we didn't get into, but you should come check that panel out, especially if you're thinking about streaming, because it's a good way to monetize your streaming content. You can take things that you create for your streams and then sell them on community content. And then everybody wins. And then you get hired as a freelancer at OnyxPath. That's how it works. Just saying that the whole top row can attest to that. When I'm the next time I'm streaming a game, I think is Monday for Scarred Lands, A Family Affair, which is currently Scarred Lands Ravenloft. It's a long story. And then,
Sounds like D&D. Yeah.
And then Wednesday on my channel, we're doing Extreme Drowis. And then Thursday, The Witcher. I'm going to be torturing Kelly for the next 3 to 4 weeks, every Thursday. And yeah, once again, please support the Bodana Group. Please go check out the numerous sales that OnyxPath is running this weekend. They've been popping up in the chat. If for some reason you haven't backed Exalted Essence yet on Kickstarter, what are you waiting for? You're going to get like 700 stretch goals when you go back it anyway. So go throw some money. And you can watch it being played tomorrow. See, it's perfect. And I've talked entirely too long, so I'm going to shut my mouth. And where are you taking us from here, Tyler? Where are we going? Who are we going to raid?
I think we're going to Scion, because I checked them both, and Scion has a few less people than Ghost Hunters. We're going to go. We're gonna go attack some Scion in Story Path.
Thank you all so much. Be good to yourselves, each other. Wear a mask. Get vaccinated. Wash your hands. We're almost out of this.
We can do it together.